Indeed, there has been a lot of buzz in the air with lots of news about our new Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV. And it is exactly for that reason that we welcome you, dear brothers and sisters, to part 2 of another special edition of Off the Pulpit, First Steps with Pope Leo XIV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Beatrice de Cruz here with Andre Archer.
Well, in the last edition of Off the Pulpit, we wanted to get a sense of the first steps that Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost had taken and will have to take in the days leading up to his installation Mass as Pope on Sunday, the 18th of May. It's the 5th Sunday of Easter. So, particularly in part 1, if you didn't listen to that edition, you should pick it up. But anyway, in that particular part, we got to understand why a Pope takes on a new name when he takes on the mission of the ministry of Peter and what his first duties are as Pope.
Yes, and Father Ignatius Yeo also explained the in-depth preparation required for the Pope's installation Mass in the role of the Masters of Ceremonies, who ensure everything at the Mass goes on with decorum, simplicity, and order, emphasizing that the center of the liturgy is the crucified and risen Christ. Today again, we are blessed to have Father Ignatius Yeo. He is Professor of Liturgy at the St. Francis Xavier Major Seminary in Singapore, and Father is Chairperson of the Archdiocesan Liturgy Commission and also Master of Ceremonies at all of our main liturgical celebrations in the Archdiocese. Welcome, Father.
Welcome back, Father.
Yay.
Nice to be back again.
Yes.
Okay, so now in part 2, right, of this First Steps with Pope Leo XIV, we looked toward his installation Mass, as I mentioned, on Sunday, 18th May. Father, please tell us what needs to be done in this run-up to the installation of the Holy Father.
So after the excitement, right?
Yeah.
The first appearance of Pope Leo at the balcony of St. Peter's on the 8th of May, a lot of behind-the-scene works has begun.
Right.
Spiritual, ceremonial, and logistical. All leading up to the most significant of all the liturgies in the life of the Church, the installation or the inauguration Mass of the new Pope. And we all know it's going to be on the 18th of May. And so let's walk through what needs to be done in the run-up to that big day. And trust me, it's more than just ironing vestments.
Yeah, I'm sure. My goodness. Although that's important.
Yeah, of course. You don't have all the crisps and all that. So, okay, but firstly, you must always take note that the liturgical preparations aims at centering our worship on the person of Christ. And it is where heaven meets earth. So before a single hymn is sung, the Office of Liturgical Celebrations of the Supreme Pontiff kicks into high gear.
Wow.
Yeah, these are the people who ensure everything about the installation Mass or the inauguration Mass, known as the solemn inauguration of the pontificate, to ensure that it is spiritually rich, liturgically correct, of course, and most importantly, pastorally meaningful for all those who come to participate in this very historic, significant spiritual event. And so, what readings are to be proclaimed, what prayers and symbols will be used, where will the pallium be placed, and yes, what vestments will the Pope wear. Every detail is prayerfully and carefully considered, not just to impress the dignitaries,
Right.
but to help the entire Church enter into this very sacred moment. As such, this celebration is just not a ceremonial planning, and it's not just about pageantry. And so, speaking of that, then now enters the Prefecture of the Papal household.
Oh, wow.
Not just
Okay. Right.
many people are involved there. Yeah.
Wait, what is, who? Prefecture of the Papal household.
That's
Oh,
right.
I've got big words there. Father, could you break that down for us?
Simply put, these are the Vatican stage managers. Think of them as spiritual event planners for the Holy See.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Actually.
Yeah.
I can go with that. Yeah.
Prefecture, papal household.
Yeah.
Very mouthful.
Yeah,
right? So what is their job? Well, their job is to ensure that the ceremony flows smoothly,
Right.
and that everyone from the cardinals to the choristers to the camera crews knows where to stand, sit, and to speak. So they coordinate the order of precedence. Who sits where, who process when. And they also are in charge of guest management for the heads of states who are going to come for the event, and church leaders.
Wow, this almost reminds me like wedding,
Yes, that's why they're...
Be good
Right.
at that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, lah,
of
so that's
course.
why the event planners,
Yeah,
the Holy See.
really. Wow.
Also,
Okay.
you have media logistics, right?
That's right. Yes.
Global broadcasters and all.
We're not there yet, lah.
Oh,
Not
well,
there yet.
when the Holy Father came.
Okay, yeah, only when the Holy Father came here.
That was just a glimpse.
Also, they coordinate crowd control for the possibly hundreds of thousands of people who will be in the square. But it is again not just about pomp. It is about order, reverence, and welcome, right? Then there is the taking possession moment of the Lateran moment. This will happen on the 25th of May, St. John Lateran at 5 p.m. Rome time. So after the public inauguration at St. Peter's, the new Pope also takes formal possession of his cathedral, the Arch-Basilica of St. John Lateran. Now, you say, but isn't St. Peter's Basilica the Pope's church? When you ask, right, well, surprise. St. John Lateran is actually the cathedral of the Bishop of Rome, which is the Pope. And the Pope's role also therefore has his
His own local cathedral.
local level, no? This reminds us that the Pope isn't just a global figure. He's first and foremost also pastor of his own diocese.
Right.
So this right of possession reflects humility, history, and continuity with every Pope before him. And finally, there's a part that no one sees but everyone feels, which is the harmonious teamwork.
Wait, Father, sorry. Before you go to the teamwork, can I ask about a little bit about the Basilica?
Yes.
Because some of us have also read that the Pope will be taking possession of not only St. John Lateran, but St. Paul outside the walls and St. Mary Major.
Yes.
Why is that so, Father?
So these are also basilicas, meaning temples, official churches for the global church, the universal church. And so he takes possession of all of these because he is also the global shepherd.
So well put.
So basilicas
I
are,
get it now.
are
Yeah.
churches that belong not only to the church in Rome, but also to the entire world.
Oh, that's very significant.
It is.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it emphasizes not only his role locally, but also globally.
Globally. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Father. Okay, back to the teamwork.
So part of the teamwork, then you have the musicians, right? Who rehearse the sacred
Yes.
songs, and then translators, right?
Yes.
Very important, no? Translators in
that's
all
true.
multi-languages,
Correct.
right? And then, of course,
For broadcast.
broadcast,
Especially
so they
or
will
even-
understand what's happening, and
Right.
we can follow the proceedings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the seminarians also will have to polish all the candlesticks and
Right.
processional crosses, and the Swiss guards also, their helmets, all their swords must shine for the
Yeah.
day, right?
The moment. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so under the direction of the master of papal liturgical celebrations, all hands are on deck. Because the liturgy is not just a performance.
Right.
It is the worship of God, and also to welcome our new shepherd. So the next time when you watch the inauguration mass of the new Pope, look closer. Behind every chant, every procession, every vestment, every symbol, every stitch
Yeah.
is the church preparing not just for a ceremony, but a covenant between heaven and earth, right? A man say yes to being Peter, and the church says amen. And the world receives a new shepherd.
Wow. Put like that.
Yeah.
Really, heaven and earth meet.
Yes.
Truly, yeah. Okay, Father. So we spoke about the liturgy, and I'm very sure it's well taken care of. But let's look at some of the other practical things as well that need to be seen to. Are there specific things that need attention to?
Yes, of course. For the inauguration mass of the new pope, several items of clothing, vestments, and regalia and documentation need to be prepared. And these items symbolizes the pope's authority and, most importantly, his role as leader and shepherd of the Catholic Church. So just to give you an idea, then here just a breakdown of what is usually required for the installation or the inaugural mass of the Pope. So we speak first about the clothing, vestment, regalia, and documentation. So let us talk about the garments, which are symbols and sacred items that the new Pope will wear and receive on his installation day. And these are aren't just fancy clothing or glittering accessories, right? But each carry deep theological and spiritual meaning. So you have the papal vestments. So the Pope, like any bishop, wears alb, the stole, and chasuble.
Right.
These are standard vestments of celebrating the Mass. But on this day, everything is done with exceptional care, right? From the finest fabric to the rich symbolism of color, and usually it's typically white or gold for the occasion.
Right.
So you have also then the mitre. The mitre is the ceremonial headdress worn by bishops, and the Pope is the Bishop of Rome.
Right.
It is a sign of his teaching authority and a crown of responsibility. So recent popes have preferred simpler design, emphasizing pastoral humility over a regal kind of display. Pope Benedict XVI actually replaced the tiara in his coat of arms with the simple mitre made of silver and adorned with 3 gold bands instead of 3 crowns, representing the powers of holy order, jurisdiction, and the magisterium.
Wow. Father, just hang on there. Sorry. You spoke about the tiara, right? In the old days, the popes used to actually literally wear
Yes.
a tiara.
Oh, really?
Yes, 3 crowns. But
3 crowns?
Yes.
Wow.
It was
Okay.
equivalent to that, yeah.
Wow.
yes. So it's the crown symbolizing he's the ruler of heaven and earth and also the father of all kings.
Ah,
That's a heavy crown to wear.
Yes.
Very heavy.
very,
Wow.
very heavy.
But in today's context, it's not necessary.
It's taken away.
Pope Benedict XVI gave it a new dimension and says it symbolizes holy orders, jurisdiction, and magisterium, which is the role of a pastor. Yeah.
Wow.
The chief shepherd of the church.
Yeah, so historical fact there, that
Yes.
one.
Cool.
Tiara, yes.
The next is the paleo. So now this is the moment to watch for the papal installation or inauguration. It is a narrow woolen band that's placed on the Pope's shoulders.
Right.
Right, it looks round and then will fall like a Y-shaped white band. So the pallium actually originated from a mantle that was worn even by normal citizens and ordinary people. But in this case, it is one of the most ancient symbol of papal authority.
Oh.
But it's not just authority; it represents the good shepherd carrying the sheep, because it is made of wool. And just a fun fact, right? So it's taken from wool of 2 lambs, right? From Trefontane. Trefontane is the place of the martyrdom of St. Paul.
St. Paul, yeah. Oh.
And it's blessed on the feast of St. Agnes, and is woven with 6 crosses, symbolizing the 6 wounds, we always speak about the 5 wounds, but we forget that he also was wearing a crown of thorns.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have 6 crosses with 3 pins, which is the nails that
I see. That's what those pins are.
placed in the hands and the feet of the Lord. And so it symbolizes both the lamb, the the Good Shepherd places on his shoulders, and also that he is the Good Shepherd who lays down his life for his sheep.
Oh,
Yeah. Then the other moment to look forward to is the ring of the fisherman. So this is a ring, whether gold or silver, engraved with the image of Saint Peter casting his net. It's unique to each pope. It symbolizes his role as the successor of Peter, the fisherman, and also of his marriage to his bride, the church, as the chief shepherd of the flock.
right.
And he too is called to lay down his life for this bride. So during his pontificate, this is also used to seal official documents. At the end of the pontificate, it is ceremoniously broken, and we saw that in the conclave, right?
That's right.
They disfigured the ring of Pope Francis. So it's a powerful reminder that the office continues, but the man is mortal. And of course, the documentation needs to be provided and prepared is before, like we have already said in the previous program, before the world sees him, an important document is prepared certifying his acceptance of the election and his chosen name. And this is, as we have said earlier, prepared by the Master Papal Liturgical Celebrations. And is the legal and spiritual proof that the new Pope has taken office. There's so much meaning in every detail, right?
Yeah.
And each item connects the new Pope to centuries of tradition, to the flock that he's called to serve. And so it's not just all about dress up.
Yeah.
It is a sacred duty, clothed in symbols of grace, the grace of God. So these items are essential for the installation of the inaugural Mass, representing the Pope's spiritual authority, pastoral responsibilities, and connection with the traditions of the Church.
I hear you, connect all of that. Also scared to interrupt. But, it just really shows that everything is connected for one purpose.
Yes.
And really it's to show, again, as you said, the authority of not just the authority of the office, but that, this is truly a divine ministry.
That's right.
It truly is.
And that this office depends on the grace of God, not of the man. Not of a man or man.
The man is mortal, but as you said, the office is eternal. In Christ, of course. In Christ Jesus. Wow.
Yeah. So still on the topic of the Pope's installation Mass, Father, what is the highlight of this Mass and what should we focus on or be attentive to?
Yes, and I said earlier, central to this is the imposition of the pallium, the woolen band, as symbolizes his authority as the leader of the Catholic Church and as of Christ the Good Shepherd. Now here's why the conferral of the pallium is considered the highlight.
Right.
So first, the papal oath is also a deeply significant part of the Mass. The Pope publicly pledges his commitment to the Church and its teachings. And this is a solemn moment, a promise made before God and to the entire world. And we watch carefully as he takes this oath. It is a powerful affirmation of his dedication. Then comes the symbol of that dedication, which is, and also of his authority. The pallium represents the Pope's role as the Good Shepherd, carrying the lost sheep on his shoulders. It symbolizes the power and responsibility he has as leader of the Church. And also, like I said, with the pins there, symbolizing the nails of Jesus Christ, then he is also called to be the Good Shepherd who will lay down his life for his sheep. And the pallium is also a connection to St. Peter, because it is also placed near the tomb of Peter before being conferred upon the Pope. It signifies the Pope's...
I read that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It then signifies the connection of the Pope to the Apostle Peter and his role as Peter's successor. Right? And very symbolically, again, I say, taken from the 2 lambs from Trefontane, which is the place of the martyrdom of Paul.
That's right.
And Paul is, the apostle to the nations. And so in proclaiming to the nations, he too must also recall the fact that he must be ready to lay down his life. The conferral of the Pallium also signifies unity in the church. It signifies the Pope's communion with the church and its commitment to its unity and ancient tradition. The tradition of the Pallium dates back centuries and highlights historical significance of these events because all popes before him were imposed with this Pallium. So while the entire inauguration mass is a significant event, the conferral of the Pallium encapsulates the essence of the Pope's new role and his connection to the tradition and authority of the Church under Peter. Finally, of course, the concluding prayers and blessings. This is the moment where the new Pope bestows his blessings upon the world. And of course, this whole atmosphere is often filled with hope, anticipation for his papacy. So just have to notice all the expressions of the faith of the congregation, the faces of the congregation, and the moment shared with the entire world with faith and unity, right? Especially with all these media live telecasts.
Correct.
Imagine the entire world is gathered for this moment.
Father, are there other symbols of papal authority that we don't often think about?
Well, besides the Pallium, there are other papal symbols, which is the 2 keys, which is the keys of Peter, the cross keys of gold and silver, represents the keys of the kingdom of heaven and the spiritual authority granted to Peter and his successors. These keys are usually featured in the papal coat of arms.
Right.
And we saw when the Pope came to the balcony, the drapes that were in front had the papal keys.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the papal mitre, no more the tiara.
Right.
The papal mitre, and also the one that he wears, and also other bishops wear, symbolizes the Pope's authority as bishop and his role as shepherd of the church. The other symbols are the cathedra, right? The chair or the seat of the bishop in his cathedral. And the Pope's cathedral is the Basilica of St. John Lateran, and it symbolizes his authority as the Bishop of Rome and the head of the Catholic Church. The other thing is the red mozzetta, which he wears, a red cape that he wears, falls on his shoulder, symbolizes his authority and his spiritual leadership, as well as his call to compassion and sacrifice, and that is why it is red.
Right.
It represents the Pope's role as a good shepherd, also carrying his sheep and bearing the yoke of Christ, willing to lay down his life for his sheep. So besides the Pallium, the mozzetta represents that as well. Then there's the pectoral cross that is suspended by a gold cord, worn over the mozzetta.
Much talked about.
Yeah.
Which is, it is called the pectoral cross because it is near your pectoral muscle of your heart, right? And the word pectoral comes from the Latin word peccatum, which is recognizing that you are sinners. So the Pope himself acknowledges that he himself is a sinner. And it is the cross, and it is through the cross that we are all reconciled to Christ and saved by Christ.
Wow.
How to say anything more than that?
Enough.
So,
Wow,
dear
that's
sisters
so
and brothers, I mean, I think, you may have to go and listen again to all that has been shared by Father, but I think when we really understand the meanings of all of these symbols, truly then would we be able to be, brought to a particular place where
Yes.
we will truly appreciate the whole meaning of
Yes,
it's
and I
not
think that
just
is
a ceremony.
It's important for us to take note that all these symbols point to Christ. Although the media is trying to twist and say, "Oh, it is Pope this or
Correct.
it's not about him. It is about Christ."
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So, dear sisters and brothers, with a truly rich liturgy, uplifting hymns, I'm sure, sacred symbols steeped in theological and spiritual meaning, I'm sure that this is going to be an experience that you wouldn't want to miss. And so the live stream of the Pope's Installation Mass will be at 4 p.m. Singapore time, Sunday 18th May, on the Archdiocese YouTube channel.
And CatholicSG Radio. Don't forget our app.
CatholicSG Radio, of course, yeah. Thanks for that, chiming in, Beats. So thank you so much, dear sisters and brothers, for joining us, taking this time, for being with us in this part 2 of this special edition of Off the Pulpit, First Steps with Pope Leo XIV.
Yes, today we want to thank Father Ignatius Yeo. He is Professor of Liturgy at the St. Francis Xavier Major Seminary here in Singapore and Chairperson of the Archdiocesan Liturgy Commission. Also, just a reminder, if you're tuning in right now, Off the Pulpit goes out every 2 weeks, with this being a special episode, so you get the 2 parts, one after another. And the encore for Off the Pulpit episodes are usually at 7 p.m. And you can also catch other episodes like the previous one that we did with Father Ignatius Yeo on our Archdiocese YouTube channel.
Okay, and so that just leaves me to thank you once again and to also remind you to please pray for our new Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, and also pray for the unity of the Church. Take care. Bye-bye now.